Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talking Heartland. And this is the show where we are going back to past seasons of Heartland and talking about them. And we are finishing up season 9 today. It's amazing. We made a long way since we were started. And today we're doing season 9, episodes 16, 17, and 18. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. Michelle's here.
Hey, everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about these.
Yeah, season 9 was a pretty strong season. We really enjoyed it, and we'll see how it ended for us. But let's dive in. Let's start on episode 16, Pandora's Box. And the summary is Lou and Mitch, the ranch hand, share their past while trapped at the Dude Ranch, and Georgie and Adam need to talk. So what did you overall think about this episode?
I think all 3 of these episodes, like Lou and Mitch, were pretty much it for me. Like, they were so good. It's so good to have like a relationship that I'm invested in when it comes to Lou. And I thought Lou was in sort of fine form these whole 3 episodes. I thought the whole of season 9 has been fantastic, and I think it's wrapped up beautifully.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how in just these few episodes that we've had with Mitch, how much better chemistry Mitch and Lou have versus how much better chemistry Mitch and Lou have versus Lou and Peter.
Yeah, it's so like glaringly obvious in the 3rd episode.
Yeah, it really is. But we have Georgie. She doesn't want tutoring, but Adam ends up coming over anyway, and she's still upset with Adam for kissing Olivia at the party. And I feel like his explanation was really strange. Like he was kind of almost like, well, it was an accident. Like I thought his excuse for why he kissed Olivia was a little weird.
Yeah, he sort of said he did it because excuse me, because Georgie said she didn't care, and he sort of took that as gospel. And yeah, it was just sort of I suppose it was meant to be sort of a mix up in terms of their feelings and what have you. But yeah, we have like an amazing commenter on the YouTube videos, and she had said that Adam is very stiff, and I feel like that's the issue with him. He is stiff in those scenes, but I really do think throughout these episodes towards the end of the season that sort of goes a little bit. But yeah, this was a rough one. This was a rough one.
Yeah, just because you had a miscommunication with Georgie doesn't mean that you should kiss Olivia. And I mean, I don't really feel sorry for Olivia because she's such a jerk most of the time, but I do feel sorry that like some guy was kissing her that didn't want to kiss her, or was doing it just because Georgie didn't want to kiss him. I don't know. I just thought it was a weird moment for Adam.
Yeah, very weird. And also because Olivia wasn't present as well, makes it a little bit more, what was her take on it? Was she doing it just to get at Georgie, or yeah, either way, he's sort of mixed.
Either way, yeah, he didn't have a good excuse for kissing Olivia, in my opinion.
It was like, yeah, well, Georgie doesn't like me, so I'll kiss the girl that's pretty much bullying her.
Yeah, weird. It was weird. So we also have Ty and Amy working to help this horse called Penelope to put a mask on to a specific kind of medicine. It goes through the mask. And this horse does not want any part of it. And I can't say I blame him. That mask looked terrible.
Yeah, it looked horrible.
Yeah. And so then Ty has a package that he got from the bank, that there was a security deposit box from the bank that for his dad that they sent to him, and he is really struggling with the idea of opening the box or not, because his dad was always so disappointing to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was great for Ty. It's sort of, because I have missed, his mum sort of coming into the show, and I really hope we see her again. But it feels like that part of Ty's story has kind of been gone in the recent episodes, so it was sort of nice to bring that back. And although he sort of put to bed a lot of his emotions about his dad, I think it was nice to, especially with the reveal in the last episode of him sort of reckoning with his relationship with his dad and finding a little bit more peace with it.
Yeah, and he says, I don't want to hear my dad's voice, and there's nothing in the safety deposit box that will change that.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think that it's an interesting arc for Ty, that how hard it is for him to forgive both his mom and his dad.
Yeah,
For
and
what
that's
happened.
understandable. Like, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you have to let all of that stuff go. It's really on his terms whether he forgives or not.
Yeah, but that holding on to that resentment only hurts him at this
Yeah.
point. So he really needs to find a way to heal.
Yeah.
And maybe talking to somebody would help, or something like that.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic plot line for Ty, I think.
Mhm.
Because it feels like every time I say I do miss his mum sort of coming into the show, but it feels like it really just a lot of times causes even more trauma. And it would be nice, it would be nice for him to talk to someone, and that's also a good representation on the show as well.
Yeah, I think that would be good. So Lou goes to the Dude Ranch, and some punk tenants have put their furniture on the top of the roof.
Yeah.
And when they're taking it down, that cheap bed that looked like an IKEA bed,
Yeah.
she's like, that's
She's like, it's
really
so expensive.
expensive furniture. I'm like, what? Yeah, right.
Not, I expected it to like fall apart. It's so like
Yeah.
flimsy looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was acting like it was like an antique or something. I'm
Yeah.
like,
It looked like plastic, frankly.
and I don't know how you get that furniture down, but it felt like the way they were doing it was not right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you definitely need
More
more
than you need,
people.
yeah.
One,
You need
two.
more than two people.
Mhm. And then she locks her keys in the car, which, oh man, that's the worst. With that moment of realization, you're like, "Ugh," and her phone is in there. He doesn't have a phone. They're stuck.
Yeah.
Uh, but it, did create kind of a fun moment.
Yeah, this was so fun. Yeah, this is like such a great build up of the kind of antagonist part of, the relationship. It was so good, and their chemistry is so good, and the way the banter is so good. And I feel like just physically they're very sort of they match very well.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, she was being a lot. Like, she was being pretty annoying, but like it worked for the chemistry.
Yeah, very much so.
And she kind of sprains her ankle. They start talking, and they find kind of common ground, or the fact they both have crazy dads, difficult fathers. But I feel like Tim will definitely like Mitch much more than Peter.
Yeah, I feel like Tim definitely warmed to Peter in the end, but I feel like that disappointment he has in him for eventually leaving, I don't think that will ever. I feel like throughout the rest of the run of the show, I feel like that's just every time Peter shows up, Tim's just always going to carry that resentment.
Mhm.
So yeah, Mitch is definitely much more compatible with Lou.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I just think that Tim sees Peter as kind of a stiff.
Yeah, very
And
much so. Like, doesn't understand the world that they live in.
mhm.
And
So Adam tells Georgie being more than friends is like opening Pandora's box, which kind of make me laugh because they're just in high school. This is not like that
Yeah.
shouldn't be that serious of a relationship.
Like they're throwing away 10 years of friendship. And I'm like, yeah, okay, they don't have big social circles, but you're kids.
Yeah. It's not, you shouldn't expect to find your true love in high school. I was telling on the Sweet Magnolias podcast that a while back at our local library, they had a sign that said, "Teens, are you down on love?" And it was inviting them to the anti-Valentine's Day party that they were throwing. And I'm thinking, these are teenagers. Why should they already be cynical about love? They're already down on love. They haven't even
They're already
graduated
burned.
school.
They're already burned out. Like most of them are relationship experiences, what they've seen on TV.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why when you have things like Twilight and stuff like that, where they find their true love in high school, it's kind of like it sets up this expectation that's not realistic.
Yeah, that's the frustrating things about shows, and I feel like Ty and Amy are sort of the sort of gold standard, you know, the thing that you hope for. You know, but the two of them have stayed on the show, obviously, and you can sort of write to that, but you have these shows where, you know, a character or an actor leaves and it's like the fans are like, we want them to be in game no matter what, and it's like it's crazy that it's frustrating, like the fan service aspect of TV shows now, of where the writers have to write to what the fans want as opposed to staying true to their sort of original vision of what the show is. It's a funny sort of relationship writers and fans have got now.
Yeah, and the whole kind of pressure that they get put under is just, I don't know, is just really crazy.
Yes, it's TV's hard now.
Yeah. So we have Jack coming in and seeing them almost kiss with, which was really funny.
Yeah, he does like stare very well.
He definitely is not about them finding their true love in high school.
Absolutely not.
But yeah, I mean, my family, we would not have been allowed in my room, that's for sure.
Yeah,
we would
yeah. To be fair, they sort of didn't see him in that light, and I'm expecting that. Well, and saying that, they do know that they kissed, so yeah, he is in a room.
So then we find out that Mitch's cousin Zach, that he died on duty, and that's something that he feels a lot of guilt about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope we meet some of Mitch's like friends and family next season and sort of flesh out that character a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And I'm sure we will if they are starting season 15 soon, which we should say that they are going to be airing season 15 on Up TV Home and Family, I think is what it's called. I think in March. So that's exciting for people that are up to date. We're not yet. But yeah, take a look at that. Go to Up TV and check that out. I thought it was sweet that Amy had her mom's journal there to kind of look and get advice on the horse.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen the journal. It feels like that was very much a thing in the early seasons. But yeah, I mean, if I had one sort of criticism of this season, it would be not having as many sort of, you know, like horse of the week stories, because you did have, you know, the two horses, we had like a whole arc with them, and so we don't get as many sort of Amy trying to solve a horse problem as much. And I do miss that aspect of the show, so it was sort of a nice way to bring sort of that back.
through, we had Danger and Maverick, and then Bear leaving, but there haven't been that many individual one-off stories. And here we have Penelope, and she does get the mask on because they test different smells, and she's a lavender girl, evidently.
Amy
Not a
fixes it.
peppermint. Yeah, not a peppermint girl. So they're able to get the mask on, give her the medicine, and then Adam tells Georgie, "You're the one I want to go to the movies with." So he cancels his date with Olivia.
Mhm.
And then Ty decides that he wants to open the box, but only if Amy helps him, which was very sweet.
Yeah, it was very sweet. And I like that they had her sort of encourage him, but not push him. I thought that was a nice balance that they had.
Yeah, because I figure you got to open the box. I mean, you just, how could you, I don't know, live with yourself without,
Yeah, it's really going
I
to
don't know.
affect you sort of emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably sneak in when you least expect it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you really should go to to a funeral if
Mm.
you, even if you have mixed feelings. I feel like you'll always sort of regret it that you
Yeah,
didn't
you need that
go.
sort of closure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he opens the box and it has his mom's engagement ring in the box,
Mm.
which his dad was planning on sending, but it got returned to sender. And that whole thing, that was very sweet.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice way of having it be like the dad pawned the ring, but got it back. So it sort of shows both sides of him, of like he was bad enough to sort of, sell the ring, but there was a lot of humanity still in him, that even though his marriage was over, that he, tried
Did
to,
still
he
feel
got it
love.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then we have Jack telling Georgie, "I like that kid as far as teenage boys go. Try not to break his heart." Very sweet. I love Jack and Georgie. They're a great
Yep.
relationship. And then we have a great scene between Mitch and Lou. She says, we've got to keep our relationship just strictly business," and then she just goes for it.
I
So
was
he's
so
like,
shocked.
she says, "I don't want things to get weird." Oh, they're already weird.
Yeah, but I thought this was such a good way of doing it, of like, instead of having like the slow build up of just like going there, and then sort of putting the brakes on, and sort of so the audience kind of knows what they're missing as you sort of build up to hopefully an actual relationship. I thought it was a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I did too. They have such great chemistry. It was a great kiss. It was a great Lou moment, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then we end with Amy and Ty riding his motorcycle together off into the sunset. So I
I always get worried when he goes on a motorcycle or does anything.
know, me too. And he should definitely shouldn't go on any trips of any kind. Those always end badly for
Just
Ty.
just go to like the gate of Heartland and turn around and come back.
Yeah, that's right. So what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I would give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Okay, so then we have love is just a word. And this is while trying to help Cass learn to handle a spirited horse, Amy discovers there's more riding on their success than she initially realized. So we find out that Caleb bought Cassandra a horse that bolts, which the name is Spirit. It's a spirited horse named Spirit. And what did you think overall of this episode?
Yeah, I thought this was a good episode. You know, it was a good way to sort of, you know, wrap things. Not. I expect Bob will be back, but I feel like it's a good way to sort of fold his character in again. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in this episode. I would say that Jack and Remy were probably one of my favorites.
So I was so gonna say that was such
so
a cute plotline.
Yeah,
I mean, you could probably relate to that because you have a pretty high-spirited puppy yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like my dad was so nonplussed about getting a dog. Obviously we'd had a dog for years and years, but getting another one so quickly after my border collie passed he was like, yeah, okay, fine. But yeah, he's just madly in love with him. Like he gets away with so much. And then he sort of gives me into trouble for doing stuff, and then he does it, and it's like, yeah, it's so funny watching like dads and granddads sort of
give
in.
Remy ruins Jack's fly fishing stuff, and that really makes him mad. And I just loved the whole scene where Remy keeps bringing the toy for Jack to throw. He's like, no, I'm not playing fetch with you. He can't resist it.
Yeah,
that was really
so
funny.
Cute. Such a gorgeous dog as well.
Mm-hmm. And it says, when push comes to shove, you all take the dog side. So we also have Jade, Adam, and Georgie all working at the reserve with Bob. And he has a whole bunch of miniature horses that were abandoned at a petting zoo kind of thing. And they were very sweet, those horses.
Yeah, I know they're horses, but in all of my notes it says ponies. It's like they just look like ponies to me. I know they're not, but
I'm not sure what the difference is between, I mean, it's just different breeds, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Between a miniature horse and a pony, or if that's just different names for them, I don't know.
I just gave up and just called them ponies.
Yeah, and this neighbor calls Bob and threatens him because of what happened with the poachers. The whole thing just seems so crazy to me that they want these bears just for the gallbladders.
Yeah, apparently it's a big market and they can sort of sell them overseas.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so awful.
So he refuses, but he is being, manipulated by this guy, and he even threatens the teenagers. So that's obviously really worrying. And we have Tim, who is throwing this party. It's the Hudson Heritage Party because Lou is getting a surprise Entrepreneur of the Year award, and he even invited Peter to the party. So that was kind of fun to see Tim get so excited about something for Lou.
I'm so amazed that he only spilled the beans to one person.
Yeah.
I expected when it first happened, I was like, okay, we're going to go one by one of them, like telling everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he kept it pretty
he kept it on lockdown.
Yeah. I do not buy Peter's transformation at all here.
Sorry?
I don't buy Peter's transformation here.
Oh my god, no. This is ridiculous. Absolutely. Like, I do understand in the way that Lou's saying, like, he's saying everything that she wanted a year ago. And it feels like that's exactly what's happened, but we haven't seen any development whatsoever. Like the last we saw of him, he had a girlfriend that was letting herself into,
Yeah.
the apartment that he's apparently supposed to share with his kids when they're there. So yeah, it just
So what
yeah,
now?
I
Is
feel
he
like this.
willing to move back to Hudson?
That's what I was like. That's what's so crazy. It's like, well, what's the solution here? Nothing's changed other than him saying, I want to make it work. But what exactly are you going to do to make it work? Where are you going to live?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to give up your job? Are you going to get a job here? Like, what's the plan?
Yeah, he says, oh, well, I'm going to do anything to get my family back together. I'm like, I don't know. This just seems like a lot in a very short time where he was not willing to move or get a job in Hudson, or, there were like major problems with their marriage.
And even, I think it's the next episode where they talk about a property. And it's like, well, are you going to actually stay at that property? Or are you going to live there part-time the way you did before?
Then we have there's a particular one of the horses that is particularly skittish that of course Amy starts working with, and she's trying to get it to calm down. So at the party, Jade and Adam and Georgie go to try to help the miniature horses, and they find a big fire there. And so then Georgie goes in to save Monty and in the fire. And then Adam comes in to help her. Anyway, they're able to save all of the horses.
Yeah.
So that was pretty dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgie's giving Ty a run for his money in terms of the amount of like life-threatening things that she does.
Yeah, it's true. I did like the conversation between Amy and Lou when Amy says Mitch isn't too hard on the eyes.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm married, not blind.
Amy's the audience in that scene.
Yeah. Because it's undeniable. I mean, Kevin McGarry is just an incredibly handsome human.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's sort of the thing with Peter as well. It's like his transformation sort of born out of jealousy, because it feels like it was very spur of the moment. Did he, intentionally come to say that he wanted to make things work, or did he show up, see Lou moving
Right.
on, and yeah, it sort of spurned out of that. But yeah,
That's how I felt too. That is he just jealous the fact that Lou is dancing with Mitch when he first arrives, and he introduces himself as her husband, which was
yeah, that was bad.
That was bad. Yeah. And
yeah, I wrote Peter is a jerk.
Yeah, and Peter was always a nice guy, and
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
kind of a weird pivot that they made.
Yeah, he's sort of very, pushy, and especially in the next episodes. And it feels like a bit of a character assassination, a little bit of like, we're Team Mitch now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they couldn't have just had them amicably part as opposed to this, I don't know, him like having an affair and things like that.
Yeah.
I guess they were just trying to give it some drama.
Yeah, it is a drama after all, Rachel, so we have to prop stuff.
Yeah.
we have to do
that. So we find out that Cass actually bought Spirit to prove to Caleb that she's a cowgirl. Yeah, that probably wasn't the smartest move. You're probably proving that you're not a cowgirl if you buy a horse that you can't ride.
Yeah. But I thought it was a good conversation, and in terms of them being very different, and we've been saying that since day one, really. So it was nice for them to have the actual conversation. I still don't think they have great chemistry in terms of like, I don't see them last for much longer, but it was nice to sort of see them address that.
Yeah, and then we have Jack and Lou talking in the car, and they mentioned this is kind of just like her wedding day. And she's like, well, I shouldn't have done that. And And obviously it's not really helpful to look back like that. And she has Katie and Georgie that she might not have had if she hadn't been with Peter. So you can only move forward. You can't look back
Yeah.
and regret.
Mhm.
I like when he said, though, I wore my suit tonight so I could feel handsome dancing with you girls. It's cute. With Jack. And so Lou gets her award, and she tells Mitch, I don't think I can do this. And he says, one of these days, do something that makes you happy.
Mhm.
So, and once the fire is out, then Bob says to just let it go, not call the police, because he doesn't want things to get worse and them to threaten more.
Mhm.
So we're building up to our finale.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we end the episode with Remy playing with Jack. It was cute.
Yeah, Lisa wins the bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's also Lisa is having some testing done that she's really nervous about. What would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I'd probably give it the same, maybe an 8 this time. A little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's good. Okay. So the last episode is resolutions. And this is when their plans to get away are thwarted. Amy and Ty celebrate their first anniversary closer to home, and Amy unveils a special surprise. So what did you think overall of this one?
I love this one. I feel like it was a good sort of way of, and I love whenever they've got like winter in the background of like the snow. It's filmed so beautifully. And I'm sort of bummed we missed Christmas. We just skipped right to New Year.
True.
That was yeah, it was a bit disappointing. But yeah, I thought this was good. I love Lou in this episode. I love the sort of decision that she eventually gets to, and yeah, like Peter in this episode is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't quite know what's happening there, but yeah, Lou is fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good episode for everybody, even Tim.
Yeah, even Tim. Yeah,
I mean,
Tim's
I'm
had a
sad to
good season.
hear. Yeah, I'm sad to hear Casey and Tim taking a break.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with that as well because it's sort of like, will we see her again? I hope so, even if it's just to wrap things up.
Yeah, they would seem like a good match. So I'm not sure why they had to do that, but we have Amy working with Spirit, and she kind of warned Georgie about the horse, and then through various conferences, Adam ends up riding Spirit, and she's like, "Don't do that. That Spirit's a lot." And he ends up getting bucked off, and it turns out he has diabetes.
Yeah, as I think he initially sort of escalates when Adam says that his dad's the sort of said to stay away from Georgie because he thinks she's a bad influence. So that sort of starts the conflict. But yeah, I feel like in this episode, this is a good Adam episode. I feel like this is the most sort of it's the most sort of warm feelings I've had towards Adam, as opposed to sort of not really knowing what to feel. But yeah, I thought that the actor was really good in this one.
Yeah, and there was especially a good moment where he talks to his dad, and his dad says, "Do you understand? Do you understand me?" or something like that. And Adam says, "No, I don't understand. She just saved my life out there."
Yeah, and you sort of, when you see sort of the dad in the way that he speaks to him, you can sort of understand Adam a little bit more. And also like the way that they sort of treated the diabetes in the episode as well. Of it's mom's got diabetes. It's very scary and very dangerous. If you don't have your insulin or your access to sugar, and I thought it was all handled very well.
Yeah, because his fanny pack gets taken off with Spirit. So then Georgie has to go and find Spirit and find the fanny pack so that he has his glucose.
Yeah.
And it was all very well done. Very, very good. And Adam's dad is particularly upset about the fire in the previous episode. And yeah, like you said, he says, my dad thinks you're a bad influence.
Mhm.
And I mean, imagine what he would think about Olivia.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we find out that the cops have caught the guy who was blackmailing Bob, but he still wants to close down the rescue.
Yeah.
And I can see why that all that pressure would get to him, especially if he's kind of not accepted the way that for his past transgressions by people.
Yeah, it's been a good arc for him this season because yeah, he's definitely, you know, made some bad decisions, but he's actively trying to, you know, be a better person and, you know, continue the good work that the reserve does do. And it is heartbreaking to sort of see him fail, you know, over and over, and especially in a place like a reserve that is sort of funded by, you know, donations. And you know, I imagine that just must be very, very difficult. It's not like he's making a living out of it. And that's why he sort of get led astray. But yeah, I feel like it's a good, because we haven't had Caleb as much, so it's been a good friendship for Ty as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's good to see Ty be able to forgive and move on,
Yeah,
because that's hard for him with his baggage that
yeah,
he has.
yeah. He's been very sort of black and white, and it's sort of
Mhm.
nice. And that's something that Scott had always sort of said to him in terms of like, when you're a vet, you can't be so judgmental.
Yeah. So Peter wants to show Lou this house. He wants to get together, and then they end up kissing, which was so awkward.
Yeah, it was so awkward, and I thought it was, you know, polar opposite to what we got in the previous, well, the sort of first episode with her and Mitch. So it was good in that sense of highlighting that we as an audience sort of know that it's over, and so we're just sort of watching Lou come to that realization.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, I just thought they should have included something with him talking about being why his opinion changed as far as Vancouver, because that was such a big deal. And it was like, what, does he not care about that anymore?
Well, it's not even clear if he's leaving Vancouver. Just
Right.
because he's buying a property here, a property in Hudson, doesn't mean, because he lived in Heartland and still wanted to work in Vancouver. That was the big problem. So it wasn't clear. See, if they'd said like, I'm not going to be long distance anymore, that would have, you know, maybe swayed, you know, me as a viewer. But yeah, it just wasn't clear on what his
Yeah.
intentions were.
Mitch tells Lou, he says, I hope it's what you want.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for the kids, you're not doing it for anybody else. And then Georgie tells her that I just want you to be happy,
Mhm.
you both to be happy, and we'll be fine, whatever you decide. We are fine now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was good from Georgie. You know, her initial reaction wasn't great, but it was a very sort of understandable one. But for her to then come to the realization that, you know, they've been good. You know, it's not been ideal, but they've gotten by, and you know, she's still, you know, seen her dad as much as she did when they were together. So you know, it's not going to affect her relationship with her dad. But yeah, I like the sort of, you know, Mitch being very for Lou, sort of making decisions for herself, and so he's not being very sort of, you know, self-serving, and which is what I thought Peter was being. Like it felt like he was being very pushy and very sort of, you know, I felt like he sort of, yeah, it was just coming across in a sort of not very appealing way.
looks like he's trying to come off as the winner of the relationship.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah,
I'm
that's a
willing
good
to
way of
do
putting
this.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
willing to, but it's all too late. And she says, I can't go backwards, Peter. I have to move forward. I have to figure out what makes me happy because I don't know anymore.
yeah, yeah. And Michelle Morgan's so good in that scene.
Mhm. Yeah, he really missed his opportunity, his chance.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
that's a good point that you made, Rachel. It did feel like he was just trying to sort of win.
mhm. Yeah. And we get a New Year's toast, and then they go out to Aurora to see the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights in the sky.
Yeah. And this whole time, Ty and Amy have been going to the Dude Ranch as it's their anniversary.
Right. They were going to go on a trip, but then they couldn't go
closed.
anymore. And Ty gives Amy Monty the horse for her anniversary, which
It's
was
good.
very sweet.
Yeah. What do you get, a horse girl that has everything? A
Yeah.
horse?
And we find out the big news: Amy is pregnant. Very exciting.
Yeah, this is such a good way of doing it.
It was cute. It was cute. So there we go. What would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I would give it a 9.5. Thought it was a very good finale.
I think it was good. So let us know what you think of these 3 episodes if you're listening. We would love to hear your thoughts. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And make sure you're following the Hallmarkies podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod, and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us so much. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store, which has Heartland inspired merch. So please check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We will have a special interview next week. And then after that, we'll be starting with season 10. So we'll look forward to it, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.